Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Podcast, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some stocks on the move on this Thursday. Bloomberg News Deputy Team Leader for U.S. Equities, Jess Metten, on the Thursday Stock Movers. Hello, hello.
It's been another fun day for us on the stocks team.
Yeah, you guys are busy. You're busy.
This is what we live for, though. And it's always important because you want to look at the winners and the losers when you're looking at a lot of these trades, because there's always both sides to that. And when you look more particularly, obviously, auto stocks making a lot of big moves underneath the surface here today. So, of course, when you're thinking about the big three, whether it's GM, Ford, Stellantis, of course, Ford getting hit the hardest, just given when you're thinking about the percentages here of the amount of vehicles that GM does import and its particular ties to exposure toward Mexico, it getting hit the hardest here, down actually over 7% today. It was the worst day since January. Actually 28 there. But then I have to point out some of the winners, though, within that as well, because you have rental car companies, whether you're looking at Hertz or Avis, those were actually rallying. So really, a lot of strategists were talking about how tariffs could potentially boost the value of the rental car companies' fleets here. So if you're looking at Avis, up to over 20% today, and then Hertz 23%.
Off the chart.
No, it is. And Hertz, that was the biggest percentage gain for Hertz on record, if you go look at the SINS function.
It makes sense. It makes sense because if autos become more expensive, new cars, because of these tariffs, and this is from Steve Mann at Bloomberg Intelligence, great research, check it out. It makes sense because then demand for used cars goes up. Who are the biggest sellers of used cars? Well, it's the rental car companies with their fleets.
That's right. And then, of course, the different auto part makers, too, were rallying on that. So you have O'Reilly up about 3%. Not as much as some of these other companies that we're talking about, Avis or Hertz, but then AutoZone, too, up about 4%. So to your point, Tim, when you're thinking the story in the terminal, talking about how those impending tariffs on Canada and Mexico to risk driving up U.S. car prices by as much as $12,000.
You got to love Jess Metten. She is charged with bringing three names.
I know. I think we've already
three
hit
names, and she brings three categories.
Right, yeah, that's right.
Each with multiple names. That's Jess Metten.
We do love her. We do love her.
Okay, Jess Metten, let's talk about something. You could argue that, the autos are sort of attached to reality. Give us something that's completely detached from reality, that lives in its own world.
What fundamentals, some might say.
Right. I mean, it's interesting. Yesterday, you had that stock up, close to about 12%. Today, down over 22%. So that wiped out a quarter of its market value. Amazing. About $3 billion lost in its market cap. So yesterday, you saw the stock higher because there were those anticipations of some of the news that it was announcing about trying to load up on Bitcoin. But then today, we got more specifics on that about basically loading up on debt. So when you're hearing different phrases like convertible bonds to fund those Bitcoin, that's why you're seeing that stock actually decimated today. And even just some context, if you look at the GP function and pull it back during, of course, the height of the meme frenzy in the beginning of 2021, I mean, that stock's down about 75% from that all-time high back in January 2021.
Taking a page out of Michael Saylor's book over at Strategy, the company formerly known as MicroStrategy.
And it really worked today. No, it did not.
No,
it did not. All right, let's get into an area I love and adore, and I spend a lot of money, pets.
Woof, woof.
That's right. Woof. I love that ticker symbol on Petco. So I wanted to bring this up. I know y'all were talking about Chewy yesterday. And so here's another, when we're talking about the economy, people spending money, but when you're looking at some of these, especially companies tied to pets, people are still going out and spending money on this. So some context, Petco had gone public 3 times. So the first time was in 94, it went again in 2002, and then of course this last time was in 2021. But since then, it's been having different issues. If you look at that chart price too, it was trading at nearly $30 a few years ago. Now it's just above $3. So it's been in a restructuring and closing a lot of stores, but that has been helping some of its margins. So RBC was pointing out that they do feel like it has more upside potential just because of how decimated that stock has been, and they're seeing some optimism there on some of the margin pain. So they actually think that it does have a path towards actually more profitability in the near term. But UBS is still pointing out that can only go so far as more stores are being closed. So how do you compete with a company like Chewy? So there still are some longer term implications here when you're looking at this stock.
You see the percentage of the float that's shorted?
That's right.
Almost 40%.
Yeah. It's wild when you look at different functions like that.
Yeah. I mean, so investors are betting it's going to go lower. I mean, it's a $3 stock at this point. It's kind of amazing considering how much we do spend on our pets that you would think, I don't know.
Pet parents.
I think it would be in a different position.
I don't have a dog right now, but I'm definitely thinking about getting one. So, maybe I'll visit the store soon.
I'm a big, I know we just talked Petco, but we're big into Chewy. Yeah. Delivered to your door. Those big, boom, bags of food.
Yeah. Someone else has to carry them. You don't.
That's exactly right. Jess Metton, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Bloomberg News Deputy Team Leader for U.S. Equities, Jess Metton, joining us right here.
The Stock Movers Podcast from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.